Today we are going to be working on 9.4, solving quadratic equations by completing the square. So yes, there are super fun times ahead. So for today, you need your spiral notebook or paper, or you can print the notes. Colored pencils, colored pens, regular pencils, and you'll need a calculator. So if you don't have your phone handy, please go get it. If you don't have some of this handy, then please pause the video now, go gather the materials that you need, and then come back and press play. Okay, so again, if at any time we're going through and I seem to be going too fast, you can always pause the video. So make sure that you're doing that so that you're writing down the things that you need. Today I will complete the square for expressions in the form of x squared plus bx. Yes, we have another form. Don't worry about memorizing any of these. Solve quadratic equations by completing the square, and then find and use minimums and maximums. Today, we are only going to be working on example 1. So that's the only one that we're doing today. So for example 1, our most basics completing the square, we're going to complete the square and then factor. So on step 1, and I recommend that you pause the video to write down each step as we do the step and talk about it. Don't wait until the very end to stop it and write down all the steps. So the equation that we're going to be working with is x squared plus 6x. So step 1, we want to calculate half of the b value. So whatever that b value is, we want half of it. Our b value is 6, half of that is 3. So that's step 1, calculating half of the b value. Step 2, we want to take the result that we got from step 1, which is 3, and we want to square that result. So 3 squared is 9. Now we are going to add that result to the original expression. So our original expression was x squared plus 6x, and then we're going to put that 9 on it. Okay, and now we factor x squared plus 6x plus 9, and when you factor that, it comes out to be x plus 3 quantity squared. So we are factoring this because we will need to solve. So the factored form allows us to solve very quickly and easily. Also, if this doesn't look familiar to you, what you are doing is you are creating a perfect square trinomial. And if you're unsure of what a perfect square trinomial is, we have done this before in our polynomials section. And specifically, you can look at section of note 7.7, example 3. That gives you the best example for perfect square trinomials. All right, so if you're still finishing writing that up, please pause the video and then press play again when you're ready to move on. So again, we are only doing example 1 today. So if you would please take a moment, pause the video, or before you pause the video, write down the problems and pause the video as you're writing them down. Work through the problems following the 3 steps on the previous slide, and then press play when you're ready to see the worked through solutions. So we are completing the square, and then we are factoring. Okay, so step 1, we want half of the b value. So half the b value is 5. Then we want to square that value that we got for 1. 5 squared is 25. And then we are going to add that to the original expression and then factored, it equals x plus 5 quantity squared. So don't forget, you should have two pieces. You should have completing the square and then factored. So here is completing the square and here is factored. Also, don't forget that quantity squared piece right there. Okay, if you forget that, it will be counted as wrong, so just make sure you're doing that. Problem number 2. Step 1, half of the b value. Don't forget, half of the b value is -4, so half of it is -2. Then when we square the quantity, the value from step 1, we're squaring the entire quantity, so it's -2 squared, which is +4. Okay. And so when we tack that on to the original expression of x squared minus 4x, we tack on +4. And then the factored form of that is x minus 2 quantity squared. On number 3, again, our b value is 7, and half of that is 7/2. And I'm just going to leave it as 7/2. If you want to change it to a decimal, more power to you. I'm leaving it though. And when we square 7/2, we get 49/4. Okay. So completing the square, we keep our original expression, x squared, plus 7x, and then we add on what we got for step 2, which is 49/4. And then when we factor, I have x plus 7/9 quantity squared. If you haven't noticed yet, you're getting your factor. Okay, so x plus 5, the 5 is coming from there. X minus 2, the -2 is coming from there. X plus 7/9, it should be 7/2. Why did nobody correct me? Hello? Bam. Okay, so there we go. That 7/2 is coming from right there. See, always pays to go over your work. All right, so if you didn't get those, please pause the video so that you can write down the correct steps.